Okay, so what do we have here? We have a light meter, and the cool thing about this light meter in particular is it actually appears to be working, which is quite rare. This particular model is from the 50s, and they have selenium cells inside of them, and these cells degrade over time and basically make the meter somewhat useless. The cool thing about this one is that you can calibrate it, and the manual actually says how to calibrate it, which is really nice. And so I've done that, and the objective here is to see whether or not that paid off. And so the way it actually works is pretty cool. You have this little needle down here. This needle moves from left to right depending on the amount of light there is. So if I'm pointing it in a window, this needle goes all the way up to the other side here. And then the objective is to get that little loop that you see, that little ring, to line up with the needle, and those values are then displayed here on, in this case, the right hand side, because ASA is the equivalent of ISO. So at the minute, that's set to around 400 ISO, which is one of the film speeds that I have inside my camera. But we're going to use the Nikon, the digital one, just to test this so we can see the result immediately. So how do we read it? So as I've said, right now we have kind of 3 different sets of numbers here, 4 if you count the one at the top right at the minute. But basically currently set to 400 ISO. And so if this meter reading was the one we wanted, now it's not, because this is not lined up correctly. But if it was, the way we would read it would be that I'd be able to shoot at 15th of a second at 5.6. Now let's do an actual test and see what we get. So I didn't have to move too far, but you see I'm pointing it towards the desk here, and you'll see that needle is moving depending on kind of where I'm pointing it. And some of that is motion, so it is affected by motion. But when it's nice and still, you should get a nice reading. So I'm going to point it towards the desk here and adjust this accordingly. So what do we have? We need to move this little ring to about here. So if that's the case, we should be able to shoot at the lowest of, let's see, that's F4 and 30th of a second, all the way to, let's say, F11 and 1/4 of a second. Yeah, that's going to be hard work handheld, especially with one hand. So let's see what we get when we test this. So you see we set to F4, 30th of a second, 400 ISO, and point it in roughly the same direction, which is about here. Oh, go to focus and take a picture. Let's see what we get. Okay, moment of truth. Yes, absolutely. That is a pretty well metered picture. And let's take a look at the histogram real quick and see what we have. Yeah, in fact, we're looking really good. So this works. It works well, and I have no complaints. So that's pretty freaking awesome. F4, 30th of a second. Yeah, that's awesome. ISO 400. That is working well. It's a good little thing, this.